Start recording. Start recording. Camera chooser. Stop recording. Button. Voiceover off.
Hello, folks. You're going to go sideways again. Oh, hold on. Maybe you're not this time. Again, you are. Too bad. All right. You're plugged in again because with all this in-class Zooming stuff, the battery on my poor phone is taking a right proper shellacking. So, you're going to just have to stare at me sideways. You're not missing much, trust me. Anyway, we're back with a slightly earlier edition of Here's Hank because I'm going to be in class all morning tomorrow. And then we have an all-staff meeting directly after that to talk about the return to school. Don't mind the drum roll, we're kind of excited to go back. Anywho, yes, week A starts on Sunday, February the, I want to say 7th. So the week A squad will be back, followed after Family Day by the week B gang. So hey, happy belated welcome back. So Here's Hank is here. Today's is called Here's Hank. Bookmarks Are People Too, by Henry Winkler and Lynn Oliver. Illustrated by, you guessed it, Scott Garrett. So let's get this show on the ROAD. Here's Hank. Bookmarks Are People Too. Chapter 1. Hank Zipser, please stop talking, Miss Flowers said to me. Good citizens don't talk when the teacher is talking. I didn't say anything, Miss Flowers. Hank, I saw your lips moving with my own two eyes. But no sound came out, Miss Flowers, so technically I wasn't talking. Then what exactly were you doing? I was just sending a signal. The other kids in the class laughed, which made me feel great. I wasn't trying to be funny, but it's always nice to get a laugh. My grandfather, Papa Pete, always says laughter is good, but not as good as a pickle. We're both big pickle fans. And to whom was this so-called signal being sent, Miss Flowers asked. To me, Frankie Townsend called out. Frankie and I have been best friends since we were babies. We have a whole system of signals. We can talk without saying a word, I told Miss Flowers. Oh, really? She said. That's very unusual. There was this one time in the Museum of Natural History, Frankie went on. It was amazing. Hank and I both decided to roar right in the T-Rex's face at the very same moment. It was awesome, I added, until the guard told us there was no roaring allowed in the museum. I laughed, and everyone joined in. Miss Flowers chuckled too. She's really nice about laughing. Everyone at PS 87 wants her for second grade because she's in a good mood almost all the time. She even gave me a nice try when I only got 2 out of 10 right in my spelling test last week. Well, Hank, since you're so expert at roaring and signaling, she said to me, you are going to love our next class project. I can hardly wait to hear what it is. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. I can hardly wait for you to fall off, Nick McKelty shouted from the back of the room. Nick McKelty, better known as Nick the Tick, never has a nice word to say about anyone. But he gets away with it because he's about 12 feet tall in every direction. That's enough, Nick, Miss Flowers snapped, putting her hands on her hips. But McKelty didn't seem to care that she was angry. He just went back to what he was always does. Rolling spitballs to launch at the little kids during recess. Next week is Children's Reading Week, Miss Flowers went on. We will be celebrating by putting on a real play. I wrote it myself. It's called A night at the library. Katie Sperling put up her hand and waved it around. Can I be the star? She asked. My daddy always tells me I'm one anyway. Everyone will have a part, Miss Flowers said. Even me? Luke Whitman asked with his finger up his nose. Yes, even you, Luke. I wondered if there was a part in the play for a champion nose picker. Luke Whitman would get that for sure. I think we all know who's going to be the star, McKelty shouted out. The one with the most talent, and that would be me. Then, for no reason at all, he stood up and bowed and let out one of his snorty laughs. No one else joined in. I'm now going to pass out the scripts, Miss Flowers said, motioning for McKelty to sit down. Read the play over on the weekend and decide on which part you'd like. I felt worried, really worried. Regular second grade reading is hard for me. Reading a whole script would be nearly impossible. Frankie saw my face and sent me our "don't worry" signal. I relaxed. Right away because I knew he would help me. Frankie is an excellent reader. Over winter break, he read a 200-page book that didn't even have pictures in it. We will hold auditions on Monday, Miss Flowers told us. That's when you can each try out for the part you want. Even though I knew Frankie would help me, I was starting to get very nervous. You'll have to study your lines and be very prepared, Miss Flowers continued. Does anyone have any questions? As usual, I had many questions. Also, as usual, I was too embarrassed to ask them. So, I did what I usually do. I made a list in my head. Chapter 2. Questions I have about the play that I'm too afraid to ask, by Hank Zipzer. Number 1. Will I be any good at this? Number 2. Will I really be any good at this? Number 3. What if I'm not good at this? Number 4. Can you throw up during an audition and still get the part? Number 5. And the big question, will I be any good at this? Oh, wait, I already said that. Chapter 3. After school that day, Papa Pete picked up Frankie and me. Frankie's mom is a yoga instructor, and she teaches every Friday afternoon. She's so good at yoga that she can lift her foot off the floor and squeeze her nose with her toes like they're a swimmer's clip. While Frankie's mom's teaching, Papa Pete takes Frankie and me to the Crunchy Pickle. That's the deli on 77th Street and Broadway that Papa Pete used to own. Now, my mom is taking it over and trying to turn it into a healthy sandwich shop. That's very bad news for salami. As we walked toward the Crunchy Pickle, Frankie and I couldn't stop talking about the play. Actually, I did all the talking and Frankie did all the listening. I was in a play once when I was your age, Papa Pete said when he finally took a breath. Were you the star? I asked him. Not exactly. I played a tube of toothpaste, but it was a very important tube. Harold Dunsky was the star. He was lucky enough to get the part of Mr. Toothbrush. What's so lucky about that? I asked. Are you kidding, Hanky? Papa Pete said. Harold got to sing the big opening number. It was called Don't Forget to Flush and Brush. The girls went crazy. In fact, years later, he married the girl who played the sink. No offense, Papa Pete, Frankie said, but this is kind of a disgusting story. Well, I'm just putting out that being in a play is a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. You have rehearsals to go to, lines to memorize. That's the part that scares me the most, I said. I'm pretty bad at memorizing. I can't even remember how to spell neighbor. Don't be so hard on yourself, Hanky, Papa Pete said. You're clever. You'll figure it out. I wasn't so sure he was right about that. We had reached the entrance to the Crunchy Pickle. Papa Pete pulled open the glass door. Frankie and I dashed to the counter that held the black and white cookies. They've been our favorite ever since I can remember. Just before we grabbed two, my mom came out from the back room. Whoa there, mister, she said. No cookies until you've had a healthy snack. I have some fresh soy lami right here. My mom is trying to bring luncheon meats into the 21st century. She makes everything out of soy. Soy lami, which tastes nothing like salami. Soy strami, which makes your tongue want to go home without eating. And the worst is soy loni, which doesn't even look like bologna. In fact, it's yellow. Mom, I protested. Frankie and I have a lot of work to do, and we need real brain food. Look at your sister, she answered. See how nicely she's sitting in the front booth? Enjoying her soy meat platter? My sister Emily, who is in the first grade, does everything perfectly. It's just like her to enjoy fake meat. She also likes doing her homework, reading about lizards, clipping her toenails, and getting all A's. She is so annoying. Why don't you boys find a seat, Papa Pete said. I'll make you a real sandwich with some pickles on the side. Papa Pete is just the best. He saved the day every day. Frankie and I slid into a booth far away from Emily. We reached into our backpacks and each pulled out a copy of the play. As soon as I turned to the first page, my brain froze like a popsicle. I can't read this, I said to Frankie. Yes, you can, Hank. Let's go very slowly. Frankie read the summary of the story. It's about a boy named Barry who falls asleep in the library, he explained. While he's asleep, the books come alive and jump off the shelves. Wow, that sounds great. Does it say what kinds of books? Frankie nodded. The books are all the characters the class is going to play. Look, there's a book on volcanoes. That'd be great for Luke Whitman, I said. His nose is always full of lava. We cracked up, and Frankie went on. Let's see. There's a biography of Martin Luther King, Jr., that would be Junior, and a mystery story called The Secret of Big Bear Lake. Here's a scary one called My Babysitter is a Zombie. And look at this weird one. The history of shoes up to the flip-flop. You interested in that part? No, I said, shaking my head. I can't stand anything between my toes. Oh, this book is cool, Frankie said, pointing to some words on the page. It's a superhero comic book called Aquafly. It's about a fly that lives in an underwater cave. That's perfect for me, I said. I'm going for that part. What about you, Frankie? I think I'd be good at playing Barry. I like to read in the library. And I'm really good at falling asleep. Great. Then we're both know what we're going to want to play, want to be, I said. Let's get to work. I flipped through my script. All the words started to swim on the pages. I was hoping that Aquafly didn't have too many words to say. Maybe he would just fly around and buzz. I could buzz for 37 minutes. Straight if I had to. Unfortunately, Aquafly was pretty talkative. As I tried to read all of his lines, I could feel my brain start to swirl. After a few more pages, it felt like all I had in my head was soggy oatmeal. Here are your sandwiches, boys, Papa Pete said, sliding our plates onto the table next to the scripts. Boy, oh boy! I was never so glad to see a turkey sandwich and a pickle. They didn't have to read, and I didn't have to read them. All I had to do was eat. And I am a champion eater. Chapter 4. Frankie and I stayed at the Crunchy Pickle for over an hour eating our sandwiches and working on our lines. As more customers came in, my mom said she needed the booth. So I kissed her goodbye, and Papa Pete took Frankie and me, and I'm sorry to say Emily, back to our apartment building. Frankie lives on the 4th floor, and my family lives on the 10th. He and I have a special clubhouse in the basement, right next to the laundry room. It's actually a storage room that we made into our clubhouse. We hang out there because it's really fun. Also, the air smells like soap suds, which is very relaxing for my nose. When we got home, we tried to continue our work on my dining room table. My dad even moved his computer down to one end to make room for us. Also, he put on shoes, so we didn't have to look at his toenails. As Frankie and I started going over the lines, my dad looked up from his computer screen. That doesn't sound like schoolwork to me, he said. We're getting ready to audition for our class play, Frankie explained. Hank, you should be working on your writing and arithmetic skills, my dad said. No one ever did well on a test by being in a play. This play is going to be really fun, Dad, I said, and very educational, too. Oh, really? My dad snapped. Well then, how much is 40 minus 18? I looked in every corner of my mind for the answer. It was nowhere to be seen. My brain can hear numbers, but it has no idea what to do with them. I mean, addition is hard, but subtraction is out of the question. I'll get back to you with the answer. Dad, I said, in about 7 years. Trust me, Hank, it won't be that long, he said. After dinner, I'm getting out the flashcards. It's going to be an all-subtraction evening. What a horrible thought. Then, even more horribly, Emily decided to take her baby pet iguana, Catherine, on a walk around the apartment. Every time they passed, Catherine shot out her tongue and tried to touch my knuckles. One time, she actually did, and let me tell you, iguana tongue is very sticky and rough. Okay, I announced. That does it for me. It's clubhouse time. You don't have to leave, Emily said. Catherine enjoys the company. Oh, really? Then why is she hissing at us like a fire-breathing dragon? Frankie asked. That's her way of saying, give me a hug. Well, tell her my body is a hug-free zone, I answered, especially when it comes to lizards. She's an iguana, Hank. Whatever she is, she's ugly. With that, a super loud hiss flew out of Catherine's throat. Frankie and I dashed out of the apartment and into the elevator. 42 seconds later, we were in our clubhouse in the basement. But there was already someone there. As we rushed in, we saw a woman in a flowered dress standing on a ladder. Holding the ladder steady was a girl about our age. A girl in our clubhouse. No, that's not in the rule books. Hi, the girl said, turning to us. I'm Ashley Wong. I just moved into the building, and I'm starting second grade tomorrow at PS 87. We're second graders too, Frankie said. Look at that! We've almost got a whole class in here, I added. Ashley cracked up at that. You're funny, she said. Hank's a riot, Frankie said. He keeps everyone laughing. We call it the Zipzer attitude. Are you looking for something, Ms. Wong? I asked the woman in the flowered dress, who I guessed was Ashley's mother. Frankie and I know everything in here. Mrs. Park keeps her dog's raincoat in the box in the corner, Frankie said. And Mrs. Fink keeps her gently used bathrobes in the big plastic container, I added. Watch out if you have to go in there, though. You don't want to be digging around and suddenly find a set of her false teeth. Ashley covered her mouth to hold in another laugh. We were just putting away some boxes. Mrs. Wong climbed down from the ladder. Our family just moved in to an apartment on the 7th floor, and there isn't much closet space in there. We're finished now. Mom, can I stay down here with these guys? Ashley asked. Of course, honey, if it's all right with them. Just be back by dinner time. Your grandmother is making wonton soup tonight. So what do you want to do? Ashley asked us. Frankie and I just stood there with our mouths hanging open. This was our clubhouse. No girls allowed. Actually, we have a lot of work to do down here, I said, trying to be polite. We have to memorize lines for Miss Flowers' class play. Auditions are on Monday. Miss Flowers, Ashley exclaimed. She is going to be my teacher too. If I learn the play now, think what a great head start I'll have. This is just perfect. Without waiting to be asked, she flopped down on the old flower couch, the one that Frankie and I always sit on. You guys have the play? She asked. Her mom laughed. Then she noticed it lying on one of the cardboard boxes. She picked it up and started flipping through the pages. Which part do you want, Hank? Aquafly, I muttered. I'm an expert buzzer. Ashley pushed her purple glasses back on her nose and laughed. You're such a crack-up, she said, holding up her hand for a high five. Thanks, I said. I have to admit, I was beginning to like Ashley, even if she was a girl. Check it out, guys, Ashley said, continuing to turn the pages. Unlike me, she seems to be able to read at lightning speed. This time, this part is totally me. The zombie from my babysitter is a zombie. I have a great zombie walk. She jumped to her feet and held her arms out in front of her body. Then, she staggered around the clubhouse, bumping into dusty boxes, old lamps, and pipes, and piles of clothing. Each time she hit anything, she let out a big moan. All of a sudden, she turned to Frankie and me and pulled down on her eyes so you could see the icky red part inside. Zombie attack, she screeched, lunging forward until she fell on the couch in a heap. Laughing her head off, Frankie and I held our sides and howled too. And just like that, Ashley Wong became one of us. Chapter 5. The three of us spent all weekend working on the play. Sometimes we were each in our own apartments. Sometimes we met in the clubhouse. Of course, we took breaks. On Saturday, we went to Riverside Park for a snowball fight. Unfortunately, we ran into Nick the Tick McKelty there. When Frankie and I introduced him to Ashley, the first thing he did was make fun of her purple glasses. Right away, McKelty found out that wasn't such a great idea when she whacked him on the nose with a snowball. It turns out Ashley Wong has the arm of a shortstop. Hey! McKelty yelled, a clump of snow sliding down to his mouth. Nobody messes with me. I just did, Ashley said. You can make fun of my glasses all you want, but they help me see well enough to hit you smack in the nose. That shut him up, but Ashley wasn't finished. And as you can see, she added, there is plenty more snow left. McKelty had no comeback to that. He just ran off, whimpering like a hurt puppy. On Monday morning, my mom walked Frankie, Emily, and me to school. As we left the apartment, we ran into Ashley and her mom, who were on their way to school too. Hello, I'm Dr. Wong, Ashley's mother said, extending her hand to my mom. So nice to meet you, my mom answered. I'm Randy Zipser. Silly me. When I saw Dr. Wong written on your mailbox, I thought it was your husband. He is Dr. Wong, and so am I. So your parents are Dr. Wong and Dr. Wong, Emily asked. Exactly, Ashley said, and they want me to be a doctor when I grow up too. Then we'll be Dr. Wong, and Dr. Wong. But I think that's just wrong. Frankie and I cracked up. As we all headed up 78th Street toward Amsterdam Avenue, Ashley asked Frankie if he was ready for the audition. Sure, he said. I've got my script right here in my backpack, with my lines highlighted in yellow. Script? Did he say script? Oh no! Where was my script? Suddenly, I couldn't remember where I'd put it. Was it in my backpack? Or did I leave it on the breakfast table next to the cereal box? I closed my eyes and tried to remember. As usual, my brain came up blank. Hold it, everyone, I said. Stop where you are. I spun around so my back was facing Frankie. Unzip my backpack, I asked him, and please tell me my script is in there. I could feel Frankie tugging on the zipper. Then I could feel his hand rummaging around inside. Is it there? I asked. Give me a minute, Hank. I'm still digging my way through the cookie crumbs and bubblegum wrappers. Don't you ever clean this thing out? This is not time for talk about neatness, Frankie. But it is the time to tell you that there is no script in here. You forgot it? Emily said. Perfect one, she said. Honestly, Hank, we should put a string on it and wrap it around your forehead. I have to go back and get it, I said. There isn't time, Hank, my mom said, checking her watch. Yeah, Emily piped up. Just because the only thing you remember to pack are cookie crumbs doesn't mean I have to be late for school. Emily, did anyone ever tell you your braids are too tight? I snapped. Don't worry about it, dude, Frankie said before Emily could answer. You can use my script when it's your turn to audition. But mine's all highlighted and everything. I'll highlight your lines in blue when we get to school, Frankie said. I'll be yellow and you'll be blue. Hey! Together, you'll make green, Ashley said. As we started walking towards school, I could feel my mother's hand on my shoulder. I hoped she wasn't going to lecture me. I was already very upset about forgetting my script, and was nervous about the audition too. But the last thing I needed was a lecture. I know this is the last thing you need, my mom began. Oh no, here it comes. But we have to talk about you being better organized, Hank, she continued. We've gone over this many times. I try, Mom, I really do. But every time I think I'm organized, it turns out that I'm not. I don't get it. You have to focus, she said. Your mind is running all over the place. She was right. I needed to focus. And at that moment, the thing I needed to concentrate on was the audition. I made my brain focus on Aquafly. I forced it to buzz. I imagined that I was a superhero. I thought superhero thoughts. I was so focused, I didn't see the patch of ice on the sidewalk in front of me. I stepped on it solid about 4 feet and slid about 4 feet before falling on my butt. One leg headed north, and the other one headed south. My hat flew off and landed in a puddle. I just sat on the ground, feeling the icy water soaking into the seat of my pants. And let me tell you, I never felt less like a superhero in my whole life. Chapter 6. I spent morning recess standing as close as I could to the heater in Principal Love's office. I wasn't in any trouble, it's just that he happened to have the most powerful heater in my school. I didn't care where I was. I just wanted to unfreeze my underpants from my butt. Trust me, it's not fun having icicles in your tighty whities. When the bell rang, I checked my bottom. It was warm and mostly dry. As I hurried for the door, Principal Love tapped me on the shoulder. "Your hat, Hank," he said, handing it to me. "Is there anything you don't forget?" "I never forget my birthday, Principal Love." Hank always remembered these words. Being forgetful puts you on the road to nowhere. That didn't make any sense. "Principal Love, can I ask you a question?" "How can there be a road to nowhere? I mean, isn't nowhere somewhere?" "You'll understand what I'm talking about when you're my age," he said. He licked 2 fingers and slicked down his single strand of hair on the back of his head. "Holy cow! I hope when I'm his age I still have hair." I got to class just as the bell rang. Miss Flowers had already marked everybody's name on the blackboard. Next to each name was a blank space where she would write which part each person was choosing to audition for. "Okay, class," Miss Flowers began. "I know you're all nervous, but there's no need to be. Just do the best you can. Let's start with our newest student, Ashley Wong." She was lucky enough to be able to go over the script this weekend with some new friends she made. Ashley smiled at Frankie and me. "Everyone say, 'Welcome, Ashley,'" Miss Flowers continued. We did. Then Ashley walked up to the front of the class, dragging a leg, zombie style, behind her. She went right into her babysitter zombie performance. "Listen, kids," she moaned to 3 imaginary children. "Don't worry about my eyeball dropping to the ground. I'll pick it up later." Everyone laughed and applauded. Ashley took a bow and sat down. "Excellent," Miss Flowers said. "I see we have a little actress among us. What a great way to start off our auditions." Luke Whitman went next. He set a new low on the disgusting scale when he made a volcano erupt through his nose. Halfway through, Miss Flowers had to send him to the nurse's office for emergency nose repair. Katie Sperling did a great job playing a pop-up book. Every time she turned a page, she jumped so high, her pigtails stood straight up. But the best of everyone was Frankie, playing the part of Barry. He had memorized every line, and there were a lot of them. When he pretended to fall asleep, it was so real, you actually thought he was dreaming. I clapped like crazy when he was done. Everyone joined in. We all knew there was no one else that could play Barry. Then it was my turn. "Hank, what part have you chosen to audition for?" Miss Flowers asked. "Aquafly," I answered. My heart was thumping as I walked to the front of the class. Holding Frankie's script, I passed Ashley's desk. "You're going to be great," she whispered. It seemed to take forever to reach the front of the room. When I got there, Miss Flowers had to remind me to turn and face the class. I took a deep breath and looked down at the script. All I saw was a sea of blue highlights. Those were the very words I had gone over all weekend long, and I didn't recognize one of them. Hank, you can start any time you're ready, I heard Miss Flowers saying. I couldn't read. All I could manage to do was buzz. It seemed like I buzzed for 20 minutes. Finally, Miss Flowers interrupted my buzzing. Are you going to say any of your lines? She asked. I am saying the lines, I answered. I'm just doing it in fly language. Interesting, she said, but I really do need to hear what's written in the script. I looked at the pages again. 0. Zippo. Nothing doing. I had no choice but to buzz to my seat and sit down. The audition was a total flop. My only hope of getting the part was if no one else volunteered. Sorry, there we go. Is there anyone else who wants to try out for Aquafly? Miss Flowers asked. No one answered. That was just what I was hoping for. The part was mine. Aquafly, here I come. And then one single hand popped into the air. It belonged to Nick McKelty. I had no choice but to make another list in my head. Chapter 7. 5 things I hope will happen to Nick McKelty during his audition, by Hank Zipser. 1. His teeth will turn green and start to glow. 2. An alien spaceship will come through the ceiling and take him to their planet until summer. 3. He'll open his mouth to talk and only hiccupy burps will come out. 4. He will actually turn into a fly and buzz right out the window. Number 5. Oops! I only have time for 4. McKelty is about to start. Chapter 8. Unfortunately for me, none of the things on my list happened. What did happen was that Nick McKelty got the part of Aquafly. If you ask me, it wasn't because he was very great at it. It was because, unlike me, he could read the words on the page. Miss Flowers tried to be nice about it. When everyone was going to lunch, she called me up to her desk. I know you tried really hard, Hank, she said, and for your effort, I have created a special part just for you. One that matches your talents. That made me feel much better, but what part could it be? Maybe there was going to be a big clock on the library wall, and I would be the bird that popped out of it every hour and went cuckoo, cuckoo. Everyone knows I'm good at sounds. Or maybe I could be the library cart that gets to roll up and down the aisles. I could attach my bicycle horn and toot it. Warn everyone to clear out the way for me as I went up and down the aisle. That sounded like a lot of fun. What is my part, Miss Flowers? Well, Hank, you are going to be a bookmark. I am? What does a bookmark get to do? First of all, you have to be very quiet. And, of course, your most important job will be to hold everyone's places in their books. That doesn't sound fun, but here's the best part. You will get to wear the tallest costume of anyone, with 2 little holes cut out of your eye for your eyes. and a red fringe on the bottom that covers your shoes. Okay, I could deal with that. The costume part sounded good. I left the classroom feeling pretty happy about my new role until I walked into the lunchroom. The first person I saw was McKelty, who was busy shoving tuna casserole into his face right off his tray. He wasn't even using a fork. "Hey, loser!" he said, spraying little bits of fish everywhere. "Too bad I beat you for the good part." "That's okay," I said to him. "I'm going to be a bookmark." "Ha ha!" he snorted. "Don't you get it? A bookmark doesn't do anything. It just stands there being all bookmarky." "Oh yeah?" I answered back. "Miss Flowers said it was a really special part." "You'll believe anything, zipper brain." Then he added, "See you after lunch in rehearsal." "Oh wait, you don't have to be there. You don't have any lines." "I'll be there," I snapped. "I'm part of the play too." "Oh really? Then how come your part isn't even in the script?" That was a good question. I hadn't thought of that. Then I realized what had happened. Miss Flowers had made up the part just for me because I can't read very well. Suddenly, the smell of tuna casserole coming out of McKelty's mouth made me feel sick to my stomach. I ran out into the hallway and leaned against the wall, trying hard not to cry. Before I knew it, Frankie and Ashley had left the cafeteria and were by my side. "Don't listen to that big bully," Ashley said. "Bookmarks are very important. I use one every day." "But it's just a tiny part," I protested. "Listen, Hankster," Frankie said. "No matter what the part is, you're going to be great." "Yeah," Ashley chimed in. "Just wait until rehearsal. You never know what magic is going to come spilling out of that funny head of yours." Suddenly, I was starving, which was a sure sign that I was getting better. Friends can do that for you. "Okay," I said, heading back into the cafeteria with Frankie and Ashley by my side. "I'm going to be the best bookmark that ever held a place in a book. Look out! Here comes Hank." Oh, and by the way, about the tuna casserole, if you ever see even a glop of it on your plate, change plates. I didn't, and my tongue is still not talking to me. Chapter 9. After lunch, we went back to class. Miss Flowers had moved all the desks into a wide semicircle, so we had the entire center of the room to rehearse our play. "Let's have all people playing books stand on the left," she said, "and everyone else on the right." I followed her directions. "No, Hank," Miss Flowers said. "You were supposed to be on the right." "I know," I answered. "That's where I am." "Hank, you're on the left side," she explained. "Do you know which way is left and which is right?" "I always guess, and every now and then, I'm right." "Well, not this time, Zipper Fang," McKelty said with a snort. "Only a bird brain doesn't know right from left." "You better not rustle the feathers of this bird, McKelty," I shot back. Everyone laughed, and I felt pretty good about that. The score: Hank Zipser 1, Nick McKelty, 0. Miss Flowers led me to my place. Then Frankie sat down at a table she had put in the center of the circle. You may begin reading your lines, she said to him. Remember that you are alone in the library and it's late at night. Frankie yawned, stretched. The library is so dark and quiet when everyone is gone, he read. It feels like a magical place where anything could happen. He put his head down on the table and pretended to fall asleep. I wonder if I'll dream about books, he muttered, just before he closed his eyes. Excellent, Miss Flowers said. Remember to say your lines loud enough so everyone can hear you. And now, all the children who are playing books start to come alive. Think about the title of your book and then come up with a way you would move. Instantly, Ashley went into her zombie walk. McKelty flapped his arms and started to buzz like Aquafly. Luke threw his arms over his head and pretended he was an erupting volcano. I was standing next to Luke, which, let me tell you, this volcano never showers. When his arms went over his head, his armpits smelled like rotten bananas. My nose started to twitch. The hairs inside my nose felt like they were curling up into little hairballs. Without even thinking, I moved away from him and found myself in the middle of the circle. Hank, Miss Flowers said, you're playing a bookmark. You're not supposed to be moving. The books in front of them. What? But I'm a bookmark with a lot of personality, I said. Everyone laughed again. So I started to think about what a bookmark with a lot of personality would do. He wouldn't just sit between the pages of a book. Maybe he would wiggle his way to another page, like a worm crawling around on the ground. As soon as that thought popped into my brain, I dropped to the floor. My body was off and wiggling across the stage area. What are you doing, Hank? Miss Flowers said with a smile. I guess she had never seen a bookworm flopping across her classroom floor before. I'm looking for my place in the best book, I said. Well then, wiggle on over to me, Ashley said. Zombies are always fun to read about. I twisted and squirmed and rolled all the way over to Ashley. Everybody in the class was cracking up. Even Miss Flowers couldn't stop herself from laughing. You're not going to put that stupid wiggling junk in the play, are you? McKelty grumbled. His face was as red as a radish. Are you kidding? Frankie said to him. Hank is being really funny. But he's not supposed to be funny, McKelty answered. Besides, the parents are here to see me in the play. I'm the star. There he was, being Nick McKelty again. He never tells the truth. It's always the truth times 100. Frankie and I call that the McKelty factor. Ashley didn't know about the McKelty factor, but when she heard it in action, she went nuts. You are so not the star of this play, she said to him. Every one of us is important, and remember, you're a fly. Everyone wants to swat you." We all cracked up at that. Boy, oh boy, did that ever make McKelty mad. He frowned so hard his lips almost dropped off his face. "Okay, everyone," Miss Flowers said, trying to settle us all down. "We have a lot of work to do. The play is only 2 days away." "So, can I keep the wiggle in?" I asked her. "Only if you keep it very short," she said. "Remember, a little wiggle goes a long way." We went on with the rehearsal, but McKelty kept giving me angry looks. Once, when I was standing next to him, he leaned over and whispered in my ear, "You better not try to steal the show again, zipper nose," he said, snarling at me through his slimy green teeth. "It looks like there's a bunch of lettuce growing in there." "What are you going to do about it?" I snarled back. "Let's just say you'll be sorry." I gulped hard. As much as I don't like to admit it, Nick McKelty can be very scary. Chapter 10. All the next day, we rehearsed very hard. The best part about it was that we got to skip math and spelling. Any day I can skip math is a good day for my brain, and not having to take a spelling test is like a mini vacation. By the end of the school day, everyone seemed ready. Since I didn't have any lines of my own to rehearse, my time was shorter than anyone else's. So, Miss Flowers had me work on my bookmark costume. I stapled lots of sheets of construction paper together and then cut some fringes at the top and the bottom. To make it look really cool, I took a black crayon and wrote the word bookmark right down the middle. "Hey, Zip," Frankie whispered to me on one of his breaks. "Hand me that black crayon." "How come?" "You left out one of the O's in book," he said. "It has 2 O's. I handed him the crayon, and he added a very skinny O to make it look like it had always been there. I'm so lucky to have a best friend like Frankie. He always saves me from being really embarrassed. The next day was the big performance. All our moms and dads were coming to see us. We were so excited. Everyone got there early. We helped Miss Flowers arrange the chairs and for the parents around the edge of the classroom. Lots of us brought snacks and treats for the treat table. Frankie's mom made her famous brownies without walnuts, in case any kids happened to be allergic to nuts. Katie Sperling brought Rice Krispie squares that she decorated with M&Ms. My mom, of course, had to be different. She sent in a deli tray with nothing on it that even looked like food. Well, there was one thing that could have been tuna fish, but nobody was willing to taste it and find out. Miss Flowers had us wait in the hall while the parents filed in and took their seats. Once they were in the room, we put our costumes on. Frankie wore a sweatshirt and jeans. Ashley had a zombie wig with fake blood dripping off it. The top of my costume went up over my face, so I had to cut out eye holes and a hole for my mouth. Just before the play was about to start, Miss Flowers came out into the hallway to check our costumes and give us a little pep talk. "Is everyone ready?" she asked. "Everyone but Nick McKelty," Ashley answered. He went to the bathroom. "I always pee a lot when I'm nervous, too," Luke Whitman said. "If my oral report on the Thomas Edison, I must have gone to the bathroom 20 times. "That's something we really don't need to know," Katie Sperling said. "As soon as Nick returns, I'll introduce you," Miss Flowers said. "There's no reason to be nervous. You all know your lines. If you just concentrate and work together, nothing will go wrong." Just then, Nick McKelty ran down the hall. Well, he was half running and half hopping, trying to tie his aquafly wings back on. "Are you ready, Nick?" Miss Flowers asked. "You should have heard me practicing in the bathroom," he bragged. "I crushed it." "How do you know?" I said to him. "Did all the sinks applaud?" "That's so funny I forgot to laugh," he snarled. "That's enough, boys," Miss Flowers said. "Remember, keep your mind on the play and enjoy yourselves." She went into the classroom. "Welcome to Children's Reading Week," we heard Miss Flowers say to the parents. "And now, allow me to present the Room for Players, starring in A Night at the Library." The parents clapped as we all filed into the classroom and took our places. I looked out and saw a sea of flashing lights, some from real cameras and some from cell phones. My mom and dad were there, and so was Papa Pete. It was easy to pick him out because he was wearing his favorite bright red running suit. It makes him look like a ripe strawberry. The parents got very quiet, and then Frankie began. And once he fell asleep, the books came alive. It was all going great. Katie Sperling popped up, Luke erupted, and the parents were laughing their heads off. Then it was Nick McKelty's turn. He buzzed right by me and introduced himself to an audience, adding buzzing sounds in between the words. "Say hello, buzz, to Aquafly, buzz, the most powerful superhero that ever landed on a tomato, buzz." The parents laughed, and McKelty seemed pretty pleased with himself. Then it was my turn. I stepped out and dropped to the floor. I wiggled over to Ashley, being careful not to over-wiggle. Ashley flashed me a smile. When I saw it, it tickled my brain. Suddenly, from nowhere, my mouth flew open and my best bookmark voice came out with these words. "I'm here to hold your place and put a big smile on your face." I heard the parents laugh. A few even clapped. I felt great. I rose to my feet, being careful not to trip on my fringe. I turned to face my family so they would get a good picture of me. As I took a step, I felt something under my foot. It was a shoe, a big shoe, that could only belong to Nick McKelty. He had stuck his foot out in front of me, and since I couldn't look down in my costume, I tripped over it. "Let me know what the floor looks like," McKelty whispered, a nasty laugh. "I told you what would happen if you tried to steal my show." That was the last thing I heard before I fell. As I was going down, I knew there was nothing I could do to stop it. I was going to make a fool of myself in front of everyone here. Then it came to me. A line really funny line just popped into my head. "Oops," I said as I hit the floor. "I lost my place." The audience laughed, thinking it was part of the play, but I didn't laugh. My purple construction paper ripped right in two, and I thought I might have split my pants. I was too scared to look. The only thing I saw for sure was that McKelty's face laughing down at me. "Remember, Zipper Creep," he said, "I'm the star, not you." And at that moment, lying there on the floor, I totally believed it. Chapter 11. I was sprawled out on the floor, my costume destroyed, my pants probably ripped. I didn't know what to do, but Miss Flowers had told us that an important rule in plays is that the show must go on. No matter what, you have to keep the show going. So I figured that the best thing for me to do was to get up, get onto the middle of the stage, and the play could go on. I pulled myself along the floor until I reached Ashley, who held out a hand and dragged me the rest of the way. This made Nick McKelty even angrier because the parents weren't watching him. They were watching me. And let me say, this was one time I didn't want to be watched. "Carry on, kids," Miss Flowers whispered. "You know what comes next." Frankie lifted his head off the desk and pretended to wake up. He yawned and stretched. "I had the strangest dream," he said. "The books were alive." Everyone stood very still, except for Nick McKelty. This was the part of the play where Aquafly was supposed to buzz over to Frankie and tell him it was not a dream at all. That books always come alive as long as we believe in them. Miss Flowers had told us it was the biggest moment of the play. It was the line she was most proud of writing. McKelty buzzed over and took his place next to Frankie. He opened his mouth, but all that came out was a buzzing sound. That would have been okay, but the next thing that came out of his mouth was another buzzing sound. And then another one, and another one. "Say your lines, Nick," Frankie whispered. "We've got to finish the play." "Buzz," Nick said. "Buzz, buzz, buzz, buzz." There was panic in his eyes. "You can't just buzz," Frankie told him. "Buzz," McKelty answered. "No, say the words," Frankie whispered. "I forget them," McKelty whispered back. I could see his hands starting to shake with fear. He looked like Catherine, the iguana, the first time she saw Papa Pete's cat, Morris. I looked around and saw everyone in the audience watching for the big ending. Miss Flowers was trying to mouth the words to McKelty, but he hadn't looked at her. He just stood there, buzzing. Without even thinking about it, I jumped to my feet and shuffled my way over to Frankie. He looked just as surprised as I was. When I opened my mouth, I couldn't believe what came out. "I'm just a lowly bookmark," I said, "but one thing I know for sure, books always come alive when you believe in them." "So this wasn't a dream?" Frankie said. "Nope," I answered, "not at all. All the books here are alive and waiting for you whenever you want to have a good adventure." And without thinking, Frankie and I threw our arms around each other. The parents started to applaud. "Thanks for coming," I said to the parents. "The room 4 players have enjoyed putting on this play for you." All the kids came forward to take bows. Everyone but Nick McKelty. He was still buzzing. After the play, we all got behind the treat table and served our parents lemonade and snacks. Luke Whitman was the only one who ate my mom's so-called deli meats, but that wasn't surprising since he also enjoys already chewed gum that he finds in his pockets. "Hanky, my boy," Papa Pete said as I put a Rice Krispie treat on the plate. "You were so great, it looks like you saved the day." "Yep," my mom chimed in. "We thought for sure you didn't have any lines in that play." "Well," I said, "that's what was supposed to happen, but when McKelty froze up, I had to jump in." "But how did you know the line?" Papa Pete asked. "I've got a good memory," I said. "I learned everyone's lines by hearing them over and over while we were rehearsing." "Such a smart boy," Papa Pete beamed. That made me feel pretty happy. I always think Emily is the smart one in our family, not me. I really loved it when all the kids and Miss Flowers thanked me for saving the play. The only one who didn't congratulate me was, you guessed it, Nick McKelty. "I could have done those lines better than you," he said, shoving his third brownie into his mouth. "Yeah? Well, why didn't you?" "I wasn't in the mood." As for me, I was in a really good mood. Even Nick McKelty couldn't make me feel bad. I was on top of the world. I felt great. So great that I had to make a list. Chapter 12. 3 Things That Make You Feel Great by Hank Zipser. Your friends, your family, yourself. Henry Winkler is an actor, producer, and director, and he speaks publicly all over the world. In addition, he has a star on Hollywood Boulevard. Just presented with the Order of the British Empire by the Queen of England, and the jacket he wore as the Fawns hangs in the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. But if you asked him what he was proudest of, he would say, writing the Hank Zipser books with my partner, Lynn Oliver. He lives in Los Angeles with his wife, Stacy. They have 3 children named Jed, Zoe, and Max, and 2 dogs named Monty and Charlotte. Charlotte catches the ball so well that she could definitely play outfield for the New York Mets. Lynn Oliver is a writer and producer of movies, books, and television series for children and families. She has written more than 25 novels for children and young adults. Episodes of television as well. She's co-founder and executive director of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators at an international organization of 20,000 authors and illustrators of children's books. She lives in Los Angeles with her husband, Alan. They have 3 sons named something. It's kind of erased here. It might be Theo, Ollie, and Cole. She loves tuna melts, curious kids, any sport that involves a racket, and children's book writing. And children's book writers everywhere. The end. And that is that. We rescue you from your sideways pose here and shut her down. So that's another one of the Here's Hank ones, all finished up. So, there will be another one, but who knows when it'll be, because real live in-person learning and school attending begins again on Sunday. Hallelujah! Yes, please! Count me in. Where do I sign? So we'll see all of you that go there when we get there. And those of you that don't go there, well, I guess I won't see you there. Anyway, take care, enjoy, have a good weekend, and we'll see ya.
Voiceover on. YouTube. Back. Back. Camera choose. Stop recording. Button.